Here we are coming at you, Crestone, Colorado. This is Matt.
And Pete,
We're talking about hidden costs within our builds. We're not trying to dog on anybody here, especially Earthship. Me and Peter, big Earthship biotexture fans.
love Earthship.
So let's get into it. Yeah, we're talking about hidden costs pretty much on, recycled building materials that I've gathered.
Free
Yeah.
materials, obviously.
Yeah.
Stuff like
Free
that.
stuff. You get plenty of free stuff when you tell people you're building an airship. Goldie and I got plenty of stuff. It was great. We also got blessed with a place to store our building materials in Denver, so in the city of Denver. So it was nice. We could like scavenge and for a day and then stash everything in Denver in a garage. So we got lucky there. Some people will pay you'll pay for storage sometimes.
So it's kind of like a give or take because it's like it's cool because Earthships and alternative builds and Earthships obviously involved with tires and bottles, and the theme of it is just reusing certain materials, stuff like that sometimes. But in the same sense, yeah, these are kind of some of our road bumps of what it costs or what it means to reuse materials or get free materials and try to incorporate them in your build.
Totally. And common belief is that tires are free, and we got all of ours for free. The hidden cost behind tires is hauling the stuff. I own a diesel truck. I bought a truck. I had to replace the transmission in it while hauling stuff. Tires are free, but you need a truck and a trailer.
And a trailer, right?
Yeah, a trailer.
Yeah, you got a trailer too.
I have a trailer. I've
Yep.
invested in my vehicle and trailer.
Absolutely.
Got hours into fixing it, but that's my own deal. But you got to account for, fuel costs, wear and tear in the vehicle. Anything can happen. You're driving, your time driving.
Yep. Even like, for instance, the bottles, another Earthship thing, along with the tires. It's like it is really cool. I don't know. We've showed in videos, past couple videos of us doing some bottle glass stuff, which is awesome and it's fun and it's cool to use that and use a free material. But in the same sense, having to buy a tile saw, having to obviously take a lot of your hours to put into cutting the bottles, having to buy things for the masonry, the cement that the bottles, a lot of cement, a lot of masonry that goes into stacking all those bottles and stuff. So yeah, that's another
Tools
cost.
is a big cost, like he said, like a tile saw, or like you got to buy like PEX crimpers sometimes, or wire strippers, or just all sorts of little hidden tools that I didn't foresee, and I have a lot of money invested in tools now from this build.
Which is a good thing.
I love tools.
But in the same sense, I know when I started off 4 years ago, I never thought about all those things of, man, how many thousands of dollars do we have to have just for tools? It's great if your neighbor has something, and sometimes I might borrow something that Matt has. He might borrow something that I have.
I borrow tons of stuff.
But which is great, but in the same sense, yeah, it's like you probably have to spend, factoring in thousands of dollars just for drills, drivers, saws, all the things that go with that and everything else, power tools of a couple $100 a pop for lots of stuff. So cement mixers,
Yep. Labor
generators.
Yeah, labor is something to think about too, where Earthship, they have people pay them to come do labor for them. And if you think you're going to build an Earthship by yourself, I think you're going to be sadly mistaken.
Better have a lot of friends.
Yeah. So we've had our friends out, but you might find yourself having to pay for labor
or even your friends' work parties, right? You might have 10, 15, 20 friends come down or come visit and do a weekend thing of pounding tires, but lots of times those work parties, obviously you want to help out and, feed your friends that are working for you for free and building your house and helping you pound tires. So it's like food.
We've spent a lot of money on food. That's another cost to be aware of. And we're not trying to sway anyone from doing their build.
Yeah.
We're just giving you a heads up so you can be financially prepared to enter your build or start your project. There's where you're going to get your electricity. You got to either buy a solar setup if you're off grid or run a generator. I ran a generator for a while. Just unforeseen things, if you set your solar set up yourself, like you can mess up, there's just things to be aware of. And being financially prepared is, smart. Plumbing bills, you're buying plumbing for the place. And Earthship does mention this stuff. They give you like a price layout sheet I feel like it could be a little bit more extensive. You know,
Well, speaking of prices too, nowadays with COVID and all the kind of halt of a lot of jobs and things like that, materials, lots of stuff is you got to wait on. Lots of stuff is skyrocketed price wise.
I just looked this up on Home Depot. They were selling, wherever this Home Depot is in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I think is $43.25 for one 4x8 sheet of 7/16 OSB.
Which, a year or two ago was half the price of that, if not
quarter,
if not a quarter or a third.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. I know when I got my metal for my roof along with Matt, it was a couple years ago. I want to say 3 years ago, maybe we bought our metal about that.
Yeah.
2.5 years ago. But cost of metal was up because tariffs were up, and a lot of metal obviously comes from not necessarily in the United States, if it's coming from China, that type of thing, or in sense of market fluctuations. So
it looks like we're gonna starting maybe having to resort to going towards recycled materials, which I'm rooting for 100%. Scavenge as much as you can. Be prepared for the time you're gonna have to put into it. Like a windows. I got a bunch of free windows, sliding glass doors. I had to deframe them and clean them and then caulk them in. Like caulk is something I feel like that might not even made the list for the Earthship thing.
Yeah.
I've spent so much money on, caulking,
screws,
nails,
nails,
all sorts of stuff. Excavation is a one that I feel like is overlooked in tire homes.
Big time.
Earthship does list cistern, water cisterns. But then the plumbing stuff, just to get my stuff plumbed in, I was surprised. It was just a heads up to be,
And I would say even on the overall build, I know when I went into it, and I'm almost done with mine now financially and also at the end, light at the end of the tunnel build wise. But I know I probably thought I was going to take I thought originally it might cost X amount of money and it might take X amount of years, and I thought it might take 2 years. It took 4 years. I thought it might cost whatever, maybe $30,000. It's probably cost $60,000, at the end of the day, or close to it, maybe $25,000 to $50,000, which is still great. And it's awesome to be mortgage free. And it's awesome to, use materials and repurpose materials. But again, it's taken twice as long and it's cost about twice as much. So,
yeah. And just time. You always think that you have the time to do something. You're like, oh, yeah, I can just, you think you have the time to complete something. And when you start doing it, you're like, I don't have the ambition or the time to finish, just I feel like that's something to look out for too, time's worth something also.
Yeah.
And just keep that stuff in mind. We're not trying to sway anyone. We're just trying to give you guys the heads up and leave some room for more topics of conversation in the comments.
My last take, if I was to do something differently, would just be have a little bit more money up front. And if you had a better ideas of how much things cost, that way, whether you needed to build a little bit smaller to accommodate the budget that you have or what you think you're going to have, or if something happens where you don't get burned out. If you think, oh yeah, I'm so excited about building my own house or buying a piece of land and starting and pounding tires, you might be pounding tires for a year, and when it comes down to then investing tens of thousands of dollars in all these things that you need, if you don't have that idea, you might get bummed out. You might kind of stop your build. You might not complete your build. So just have that perspective of how much things cost. And also, hey, if it sizes it to your budget or sizes your house to your budget, that's a better thing than taking a long time and then not ever getting a chance to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just more motivating when you can see that light. So,
and if I was to do something differently on our build, I think overall it would be to get recycled materials for the roof and pretty much build the structure to fit the roof. Scavenge the materials first, find out your roof dimensions, find out your size, and then build the tires to your roof. You could save a ton of money that way. It's just an idea. It might be a pain in the butt, but I feel like it would be a cool way to maybe save some money on a build. That's what I would have done differently.
And just to piggyback one thing on your idea, because that's an awesome point, is whether that's the roof or whether that's someone's windows or whatever it is, if you're using repurposed materials or recycled materials or free materials, that's awesome. And that's what we're talking about. But in the same sense, if you have that stuff first, then you kind of have an idea what to build off of. If you're just pounding tires and just going to go for it, then you kind of are, limited to a certain extent of what you can find. If you have stuff ready to go and have all your eggs in one basket, then it's like, hey, now you know what what you have to do. So
I personally had a hard time with our roof, and that's what I would have done differently. Sweet. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks to you guys for watching. Subscribe, like.
Let us know if you have any videos that you want us to try to focus on sooner than later. I know we got a handful of different things coming up. I'm going to be doing the brown coat of my Adobe wall and earthen wall, like how we kind of saw in Madden Goldie's. I know they got a lot of projects coming up, a slab pour.
Yep.
Definitely some stuff with the greenhouses on both of our sides. So a lot of stuff coming.
Let us know what you want to see. Owner Builders Unite.
Thanks.